comparing that to the GFS, they look quite similar now. There really aren't huge differences between the 24, within the first 24 hours or so of the forecast. There are still some differences in handling that feature as it comes across Tasmania. They are getting a bit closer though. In the forecast, that trend should continue, so they should continue to watch the forecast, obviously, as they go down the track here, particularly for the finish. So this is the forecast for approximately start time. And remember, well, first of all, we have basically east, southeast, east breeze coming into the heads, and that's basically going to be around 15 knots offshore. In close to shore, it'll be a little bit lighter, just because the breeze kind of sees the headlands before it gets there and lifts up off the water. And then remember yesterday we were talking about this ridge feature down here where the wind is really cranking hard left from east or slightly north of east more into a northeasterly, and also a bit weaker gradient in that section. If I go forward 3 hours, we'll see that that ridge moves to the north. And so the ridge axis now is right through here. And there is that little bit of easing breeze in on the shore side due to that ridge. And my concern is that combines with a little bit of thermal easing along the beach in the afternoon, because we don't get we're in an onshore gradient flow, so we don't get a full transition to sea breeze. In fact, what happens, there's a feedback that causes the breeze to actually drop when you're in an onshore gradient in the afternoon. So I'm afraid that just in close to shore, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles could get kind of light. So I am favoring any opportunity to sort of be to the windward side of the fleet makes some sense. It makes sense to stay out of that. I also think the long-term shift looks better. You're on a more lifted jibe. So I think that's another reason to be a little bit on the offshore side as well. Yes, exactly right. So as we talked about before, as the high moves out to the east, this area of acceleration down here, which is partly due to the geography of the air kind of just squeezing around the Cape, but also due to the thermal trough here tightening up the pressure gradient. As the high moves out to the east, that breeze will expand out to the north and across Bass Strait in this area here, and then eventually just kind of cover this whole zone here as the high gets far enough east and we get enough isobars piling up down this area here. So they, as the fleet heads south, they'll be sailing toward the expansion of this wind, which I refer to it as back building, because it's actually building, the wind is actually building upwind. That makes sense. So I refer to that as back building breeze. And so they'll be sailing toward that back building. So the first boats into that pressure are the ones that they're just going to keep extending, because they'll always be sailing into more pressure. And that really happens after they cross this little ridge and the wind backs into the northeast, say left of, say, 040 direction. That's when that really will start to be noticed, where you see the pressure start to build. So now I'll just go a little bit faster forward in time by 3-hour increments. That's this evening, and then this is probably about sunset tonight, and then this is getting toward midnight tonight. There, and that's where you can really see the good build coming up toward the fleet here, and also running across Bass Strait, and we're also seeing the wind start to increase off of Tasmania as well. And that trend just simply continues through the overnight and into tomorrow morning, which I'll go to here. So this is like sunrise tomorrow morning. And again, you can see the isobar is starting to pile up here off along Bass Strait and east of Tasmania, all indicating building breeze there. And so about 24 hours after the start, this is what we look like. And it's going to stay more or less that way for another 24 hours. And in fact, the wind field just kind of expands and increases with time. So this is now 36 hours after the start. And again, you can just see it continuing to build. We have some areas of pressure that are, pushing 30 knots even, a little bit across Bass Strait and down off the east and southeast corner of Tasmania. And then another 6 hours there, you can see that the breeze is still there, but we have the next front coming in. So this is about 42 hours after the start, more or less, and this is where that front is visible here. It's actually visible on the previous one, and you can see the wind more back west of due north ahead of it, which is the typical thing, and that backing trend is starting to come across Tasmania.